While serving in South Vietnam during the Vietnam War, 1967, with the 128th Assault Helicopter Company, had an odd thing happen. I started getting these feelings that something was going to happen to somebody, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be an enemy attack or what. But I'm working out on the flight line after coming back from a long day flying combat assaults, and I'm more concerned. It's late at night, and I got a flashlight that I'm holding as I'm working on top of the helicopter, and my light is the only light on the runway. And I'm only thinking, wow, maybe these concerns I have is because there's a sniper maybe out there, and I got the flashlight right under my chin here. But it wasn't that. I knew it was something else that was deeper, and I just couldn't get that uneasy feeling out. I finished working on the helicopter that evening and went back to my hooch and company area, and all the guys were chit-chatting around, and I looked at this one guy, and I just had a feeling about this guy that something was wrong. I just knew, just knew something was going to happen to him the next day. So I decided, since I was in charge of assigning people to the door gunners and the crew chiefs to flights, that I would take this door gunner and give him a couple of days off and keep him out of harm's way. I thought I was helping him. I just assumed that was going to change his fate. So I went up to him and I told him I was taking him off flight duty, and I was going to give him a couple of days off, and I was concerned about him. And of course he thought I was crazy and nuts, and I think a bunch of other people did as well. And he said some unkind things, and I let it go. The next day I made sure that he wasn't on flight status, and I got out to my helicopter, and my pilots had heard about it from some of the crew chiefs and door gunners and asked me about it. I told them, and they kind of gave me that look like, okay, Bill's going off a little deep edge here. I just let it go. We got in the helicopter, and we flew all day. We were flying basically resupply missions out to Special Forces camp along the Cambodian border, and in an area where they got rubber tree plantations not too far from Lai Khe. So we got this call on our radio to go back to Phu Loi, our base camp, to pick up a wounded soldier and take him for medical treatment in Third Army Medical Hospital in Saigon. And we're looking at each other. We hadn't heard any reports of any attacks or anything going on at the base camp all day long, so we hightailed back and got back to the company area, and there's this guy coming in on a stretcher. And his face is all bandaged up, looks like a mummy. He's got bandages all over his ears, across his face, and you can't identify who he is. Loaded him back in the helicopter, and the pilots asked me to grab his dog tags and check him out and see who he was and find out what happened. I told him, I said, I don't need to check his dog tags. I said, I already know who this is. It was a man that I warned. When I checked his dog tags, I was right. It was exactly who it was. We flew in silence to the Saigon to take him to medical treatment and came back, and I kind of pondered that whole thing. Like, I knew something was going to happen. I thought I'd given him the safe choice. I took him out of combat, took him out of harm's way, and yet he met his fate anyway. Somebody brought back a captured Russian rocket launcher as a souvenir from the war, and it was sitting out there in the maintenance area. He picked it up, was playing around with this thing, and blew up in his face. So he had shrapnel in his cheeks and his forehead and stuff. Not serious injury, but he had shrapnel all over the place. And so there was a case where I learned something. I knew something was going to happen to somebody. And I took this huge responsibility to try to save them, to change their fate. But in the end, it really is their fate. It's their life, their choice, in their hands. And there's also part of me that wonders if something would happen if I'd sent them into combat. Maybe by me keeping them at the base, I was a part of the plan. But in the real world, the fate of yourself is in your own hands, and not in that and the others. I couldn't change it.